these guys are so busy. So I'm so excited to welcome some members of Spirit Mechanix, and I'm going to turn it over to them so that they can tell you all the things they do, because there are so many cool things. And then I have a couple that I want to nitpick and ask about, so we'll do that after. But please, welcome. Thank you guys for being here, and just tell us everything about Spirit Mechanix. Hey, it's Amity, welcoming you to the Gothic Heart, where we explore how to fully embrace your Gothic and alternative self in love, life, and everything in between. Whether you're navigating the dating scene, in a relationship, or celebrating your individuality solo, this is your spot for tips, inspiration, and my own journey from a courtroom attorney to a hollow wedding host. So grab your favorite drink and let's dive in.
Raymond, do you want to go first?
Yeah, my name is Raymond Newsom. I am a mechanics trainee. I'll be a full mechanics of October. Yeah, dealt with me for 2 years, but and I am an alchemist in training and a paranormal investigator.
I've already heard something that I want to ask more about. But yeah, okay, Stephen, how about you?
Well, my name is Stephen Smith. I am the head of Spirit Mechanix, one of the founders, and a master alchemist of my particular order. And I've been doing what I do for about 30 years. But Spirit Mechanix as a whole it started as a dream when I was younger, and then it just kind of going through it quickly. I did my training, and I wanted to put it to use, and go a few years, wind up meeting my wife, another founding member, Brian Gibson, and we decided to make a go of it. The reason why is we grew up, where we're at, it's Kentucky, and so Bible Belt. And here, talking about the things that we do and the things that we can do is kind of a no-go. So we wanted to be a space where people could go and feel safe to talk about who it is they are, what it is they've got going on, whether that's paranormal issues or metaphysical gifts that are starting to sprout, and have a safe space to learn, because we hadn't had that kind of thing ourselves. But we've gone all over the country helping people, doing house cleansings. We've worked with Miss Amy Allen of the Dead Files. We've worked with Mr. Kyle Cobb, who is one of the best theological and demonology researchers around. We've worked with quite a few people and been blessed to do so. So it's been a wild ride over these last 11 years now. So.
Okay, so side note, listeners, I did not tell him to say any of those things, okay? Because, Stephen, you literally just said exactly what the Gothic Heart is about, like the safe space and how having alternative interests or likes and everything, and what people say on the outside, and how to keep that from changing who you are, making you hide. So that was spot on. So I love that you said that exactly like that, not prepared. So awesome. And I'm just really, really excited. I invite these guests on, okay, and I'm like, yeah, it's for the listeners, but really I have questions that I want to know answers to. But, in theory, my listeners are like me. So first of all, okay, when I heard Raymond say that he was a trainee, that was really exciting, because I would love to hear what that's like. And then, so Stephen, you went through the training, and I'm definitely going to fall back on what it was like growing up or starting all of this in Kentucky a little bit more, because that's something we talk about a lot. But I really want to hear about this training, Master Alchemy, what it is, and how you use it in your daily life.
So alchemy is an amazing thing. You have the old school understanding of hermetic alchemy and apothecary alchemy, which is old school chemistry, right? It was what was used for medicines. It was what was used to find new astringents, new cleaners, different things like that. Energy alchemy works in a very similar way. It works in the same process, identifying what it is you have, whether it's energy, entity, person, regardless. Breaking the situation or the energy down to its finest components. So bringing it back to essence, and then using that essence to change the situation through transmutation. And the best thing about being an alchemist, at least for me, is we bridge the gap between physics and metaphysics. So what we do can actually be proven through quantum physics, and it's been a wild ride. As far as what it is that I do, I've been doing my particular research and work since I was actually 10 years old. I was actually worked with and trained by some family members and then some people outside of that until I was 15, and then started getting trained by my master in alchemy then. And it's been a lifelong pursuit since then. But as far as using it every single day, alchemy is something that anybody who has an understanding of manifestation and basic energy work, it's something that you can get a very quick grasp of. It takes a while to actually get to the point to where you can physically handle the strain, because alchemy is think Reiki, only to a very intense state. So it's a very physical, taxing kind of thing. Depending on what you're wanting to do, you're using yourself as a catalyst and the energy that you have. Otherwise, you're using external sources as a catalyst, but you're still filtering it through yourself. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to take your time. You have to go through the process and work the equation out. And the last thing I'll say, because a lot of people usually ask this, and I'm just going to nip it in the bud, is Full Metal Alchemist, the anime, is not correct. So if you use that kind of ideology, you're going to mess yourself up. There is no such thing as equivalent exchange, ever. There is no such thing as equivalent exchange. But there is what's called the law of equivalency. So it's bastardized. The law of equivalency states that at the end of a situation, the equation has to be balanced. So you remember the old riddle: if you have a ton of feathers and you have a ton weight and you drop them both from a great distance, which one hits the ground first? They both hit the ground at the same time because they both weigh a ton. But to an alchemist, there's only one weight, but there is a ton of feathers. The situation is not equal. It takes more feathers in that situation.
That's a really good analogy. So, okay, I definitely heard you learn from the experts, not from TV or media. But so I guess that's kind of where you come in, Raymond. Like, what brought you to Spirit Mechanix and what started your journey?
I'm an investigator for over 10 years now, and I've always had my own personal experiences between happenings with energy to, seeing entities or spirits wherever I went, and I took a break from it. Life happens. Well, a few years back, I got back into investigating and went to a group hunt at Bobby Mackey's here in Kentucky. It's, a little honky-tonk bar. It's haunted as all get out. It's not nearly as scary as people make it out to be. The But I'm named Jeff Matt, and he's now a member and has been friends with the team for years. He's like, you have to meet these people. You have to meet them. You have to go meet Steve. Okay. I followed them on social media. They were opening up a shop. So they were having a meet and greet. I was the only person that showed up that day. So we went through the whole spiel, just back and forth. And by the end of it, it was like, what do you think? Hey, do you like this band? Yeah, I do. And, it was how well we were going to mesh as far as music goes, which sounds funny, but, it's important. And we stepped outside to smoke, and Steve asked me if I wanted to be a trainee, and I said yes. Since then, we've been to quite a few cases, quite a few investigations, and I've done several events with them. So
That's a very like organic story. Like it just sort of happened like it was meant to be, that you were the only one there and everything. So that's a good story. I like that. And when you were saying something about the haunted places in Kentucky, it reminded me of my friend who's going to be listening for sure, who just did a bunch. She went to Kentucky and did lots and lots of haunted places, tours and visiting and things, because she's super into that too. And she was telling me about a lot of the cool places. So it's too bad I didn't know you guys before, because she would probably have found a lot more places to go or a lot of cooler things to see or additional cool things. So
I have a list.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good, because she actually loved it, and I'm sure she's going to go back. They even talked about moving there. And I'm like, Paula, I need you here in Colorado. But she loved it there, so I'm sure they're going back. One thing that you said, Steve, is bridging the physics to the metaphysics and is provable in quantum physics is my personal going to be my favorite thing that you guys said, because my husband is a physicist. He used to teach physics and astronomy and math. He's a mathematician, physicist, whatever. That's what he does for a living. And he never, he's very science, right? He doesn't believe in the things that I believe. And so I always play my podcasts and edit them and do all these things when he's around. So he has to hear everything to open his mind. Because I've got my kids, with me, when they ask stuff, I was like, well, your daddy will say this, but here's the real story. So I love that you said that, because I don't know how. I'm sure he'll challenge me on it, but I'm sure you have I don't know. I'm just excited to have him hear this and hear you say that, because I always try to challenge him on those things. So that was just an exciting thing that you said for me. So that makes perfect sense about what alchemy is. And then, so before we get into investigations, because that's the part I'm really excited about. Well, I'm excited about all of it. Can you explain then, because you guys do a lot of things, but I also read a lot when I was learning about you guys about shamanism. So can you explain the differences, or when one is better or more applicable than the other?
So regardless of what the practice is, whether it's alchemy, a form of witchcraft, shamanism, druidism, even things that have a darker connotation but honestly have their own place, like necromancy. Everything has a particular niche. So you use that when it's necessary. It's kind of like having a Swiss Army knife. For us, we just have a team member that specializes in that particular field. So,
got it.
For me, it would be obviously alchemy, but our friend Ethan is a druid. Our friend Brian is a medicine worker and has shamanistic tendencies. Our friend Seneca, he is an actual shaman. There's a bunch of us that just do different things. As far as shamanism and what it is, where it comes into play as far as what it's supposed to do is shamanism it's a very deeply layered process. There's a lot of people that claim to be shaman or shamanistic practitioners, but have no idea the process. there are several different types, and each type has its own specific methodology for actual training, for actual understanding. Some shaman focus on the process of life and death itself. Some shaman focus on ancestry only. Some shaman focus more on the ethereal and how that actually affects the body, like soul fragment retrieval and journeying and different processes like that. Some shaman focus more on specific physical healing. By instead of journeying outward, they take you inward to find your own issue. I actually watched a shaman up in Owenton, Kentucky, at a festival we were at. This chick was actually in severe pain and had bulged discs and pinched nerves in her back. And he said, "What I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes and walk with me." And she said, "How do I do that?" And you put one foot in front of the other. What you're going to do is you're going to close your eyes and walk with me. And she closed her eyes, and he started to walk around her, and she sat still. He goes, "Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to look for a spot in your vision that looks like lightning. And I want you to reach out and take a hold of it." And she did, and goes like this, and as soon as she did, her back went numb. Instead of pain, it was like getting lidocaine injections. So, I mean, it's the coolest thing, but it depends on which kind of shamanism, because you have multiple forms in native practice, indigenous practice, excuse me, and depending on the tribe, they have their own different understanding. You've got Siberian, you've got Mongolian, you've got Indonesian. There's so many different forms of it and different understandings of it. Generally, what you're doing is you're wanting to connect from the spirit outward. So you're wanting to channel who it is that you are at your core, what it is you are at your core, and bring that forward. Whether that is to connect with a spirit, an ancestor, a person, or even a place or a plant or an animal, and bring connection to that. So there are a lot of people that practice shamanism on a daily basis. It's not something that I particularly do, but I know for a fact our buddy Seneca is 100% into his practice all day, every day. It's literally who he is and how he talks to people and interacts with people, and he's just a wonderful person. Getting a hug from him is like getting a hug from every grandma that ever existed. So, and sometimes it is, but it's just fun stuff.
I can't imagine all day, every day. I mean, especially with what you said earlier, how do you protect yourself? That must be so taxing.
Your ancestors, especially in shamanistic practices, the ancestry and what are referred to as your lower realm guides or your animal spirits, totems in some cases, your power animal in some cases, but they're always there to guide and protect. You usually have two. You have one to show you that you're doing dumb shit, and you have one that keeps you out of doing the dumb shit. And then the rest of the time, your ancestors and your departed family are like, "So here's what you should have learned from that. Let's not do that again." So a shaman comes with an entourage, and it's usually a very a good amount of people. So they're usually protected. They don't have to worry about it as much.
Well, and that's why his hugs feel like that. He's got his whole entourage.
Yes, ma'am.
So then with alchemy and everything, how you had mentioned, then that's really taxing. And if it doesn't come with all the same entourage, how do you keep it from overtaking you?
So there's 3 different ways of doing that. One is to mitigate it by using tools. So
Okay.
crystals, accoutrements, like this particular ring, um, different things like that. I'll even put a little bit of alchemy in my beard. So if I'm talking to somebody and I'm doing intuitive counsel or some kind of energy work and I'm not getting anywhere, I'll literally. So anyway, and just kind of change the situation. Okay, let's calm things down. I need you to listen. But the next way is to use what God, universe, whatever gave you. So humans are amazing things. They're biomechanical machines. So we're literally water balloons filled with iron powder that run off an electrical charge. So eventually, that excess charge has to go somewhere. And guess what your aura is? It's literally the static field that you produce. So the cool thing is that, side tangent to prove a point, when you go and get an aura photograph, it comes out and it's a bunch of different colors. And it's pretty amazing, right? So what I want you to do the next time you have the opportunity is go take one and then go eat lunch, go have a cigarette, go watch a movie, go read a book, go lay in the sun, whatever it is that you need to do to calm yourself or change your mindset, go back and take another one. I can almost guarantee your aura photograph will be 100% different. And the reason why is your aura shows the colors of your brain waves. It's literally a mind over matter. What you think is what you are. What you manifest is what you want. So all you have to do is think it, and it does show around you. Magic. Literally, that's what magic is. So an alchemist has the ability to literally use the mindset and physically alter the space around them. If you can control your electromagnetism, you can control what's around you as well. Okay, I really don't want to talk to you. And it just takes just in the auric space, or this place is way too chaotic, it needs to slow down. While I'm here, and that's the big thing, while I'm here, everything needs to slow down and calm down, take a breath. You'll find that a lot of alchemists, all of them should, but you'll find that a lot of alchemists will ask permission to do workings. And the reason why is it is a very personal thing. We are physically interacting with the energy that you possess, that's around you, that's in your home. And, if you're working with someone who is an alchemist or any practitioner, to be honest, but especially an alchemist, and they don't ask permission to do that, and you tell them, fuck off.
That doesn't sound legit. if they're not taking that very basic. I mean, that's something we talk about on every episode when we're talking about metaphysical, is the permission and how it won't work, or if it's someone who's not with the best intention. So, but okay, when you were talking about your ring, I got laser focused on your ring for a second, because I told you before that I'm a custom jeweler and to make jewelry. So tell me a little bit more about what you did with your ring. Can I do this with jewelry? Can I have you do this with jewelry? I need to know more.
You can do this with jewelry, or you can have an alchemist do it with jewelry. You've heard about people using Reiki to infuse energy into stones and different jewelry. Alchemy is a little different. What happens is, instead of just infusing energy into that space, which will eventually dissipate, an alchemist changes the properties of that space so it stays that way. It is a concrete change. The only difference being is that once it is changed, once it's altered, you can't change it back unless you know exactly how it is that you altered it. So that's the reason when I was explaining alchemy, I was talking about balancing the equation, making sure that you have your process. So a lot of alchemists will have a book that, they're like, hey, I did this weird thing to this thing, and this is how I did it, so they can remember. But so with this ring, the way that I'm built, I can't ground in typical ways. So the earth thing doesn't work for me. Expelling energy is not impossible, but it's difficult depending on the situation. So I can't just pass it off. Mindset doesn't work. Breathing techniques are things that I use to mitigate it, but it doesn't do. So this is my outlet. This ring is designed, while I'm wearing it, to not just shave off my excess, but pull what's unnecessary from me, and it stores it in the ring. So for me, it acts as a ground. I can hand it to somebody else, and it gives them a full battery life. So it's just what it is that you want to do with it. I mean, it's metal, right? It's a conductor. All I have to do is place the intention, because I place the intention into my aura and I'm holding on to the ring while it's in my aura. I can alter the space of the ring. Because metal is a conductor, it's going to draw it to it. And then all I have to do is make sure it can't escape. And there you have an alchemy-infused ring that does a specific thing.
So you said it goes into the ring. Do you ever have to dispel it or anything like that?
Nope.
It sounds like my brain's just worrying with like side things that can be done for, I mean, it's already a very custom, heirloom sometimes being incorporated process to begin with. What a way to make it even more custom specifically to a person. My brain is whirling. I'm going to have to come back to that, but that and I feel like I could keep asking questions because I actually find this alchemy thing incredibly fascinating, but I really, really wanted to cover the paranormal investigations too, and I don't want Raymond to sit here being super bored, right? So Raymond,
I'm not bored. I still love listening to him talk about this.
Okay, all right, well, good. Well, we want to hear your voice. We want to hear what you have to say too. And so, my question then for you is: you had done investigations before, and then you've done them, and you're in training, with
Yes.
them. So, is there a difference? And basically, I mean, tell me everything. I don't know anything about the tools or anything. I mean, I've seen the shows or whatever, but I haven't had a chance to get up close and personal. So I'm listening.
As far as doing a regular investigation to what we do as a team, which is usually a home case where we're going in to help a family out, help a situation out. The main difference is when you're investigating, you're only there to collect evidence. I'm here to, collect your story and show me so I know the world. As far as investigating goes, as far as normal investigation, we're there to collect evidence. So it's going in, setting up the equipment to be able to collect their story and to tell us what they can tell us, or tell others what they can tell us about, why they're still there, what happened in their lifetime, and that way we can share it with the world. Our favorite way of things is, I'm here to tell your story. What can you tell me? It's a very personal conversation. And usually we get a lot of results with that. When somebody knows that you're willing to just listen, they're willing to talk. With a case, we are typically called to, all right, these things are happening in my house and they're affecting everybody. Get rid of them. We have an entire checklist that we go through. There's multiple calls, see what we help till we get there. And then when we get there, my first move is what I do on regular cases. I'm setting up equipment and I'm collecting evidence. It's like, I'm going to get this so you know for a fact that you're not just crazy. You know, I have this to prove that you're not crazy. And after we've got our evidence, we go into, helping cleanse people, cleanse the homes, make sure everybody's safe. And we usually wait for a certain phrase. I'm not going to ruin that because that's no fun. And then we do aftercare. Somebody from the team reaches out once a week for years. We make sure people are taken care of. That's the goal. And when we had our brief pause there and stuff, Steve was talking about his ring as well. And as a direct student, I've learned a few things so far. I'm still learning. I've got a ways to go. But, each one of my rings, any piece of jewelry I usually wear is a tool. So, each one does different things. But I collect in this ring, I have some neat little things in that one. The left ring, it helps me ground. I store a energetic evidence that I have from experimentations to, anything like that, I store in the ring. The necklace is more of a protective thing. So I don't have to wear a bunch of bracelets all the time, this and that. The necklace is there and it does the same thing as wearing the bracelets. So.
Who knew? I did not know we'd get to talking about jewelry, but this is so interesting. So you can buy any jewelry you like, or it's made with that intention.
It all depends on what it is.
Some of them can be made. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is I know it's probably not able to be seen on camera, but this is a Solomon seal that's been pressed into blessed silver. So this has a very specific intention. It was made with it. It's blessed with it. It does the thing. Whereas this was a ring that, because I have OCD and it's a thing for me. So I have a wedding ring and I had nothing over here. And my wife went, okay, I'll fix it. And
is it a spinner?
Got me a stainless ring here. So I changed the properties of it because I don't take this one off. I don't take this one off. So it has to be used for something. And, this one has its intention. This one has a made intention.
Did you do this before joining Spirit Mechanix or being trained with Steve, Raymond?
No, these were made after I joined. So, I'm pretty sure this one I had before, but it was changed after. And both of these were after I joined. So,
Nice. I kind of want pictures of all of them. I want to see them up close. But that's neither here nor there. So what happens when it is here or there, but that's probably more specific to me and not the listeners. So, my jewelry. So what happens then when you cleanse the house and you're doing the aftercare? What happens to what was there? Where does it go? And the aftercare, I assume, is in case it recurs or it comes back. Am I getting that right?
Go ahead, Ray.
Usually, if we're leaving, removed this situation, there's some things in this world that you cannot remove from a property and, or from a house. But most entities or spirits that come into the house can be removed. So we usually either leave them with them in something or remove from this plane of existence, to put it nicely.
So are they like,
and
could it be
the
anything?
aftercare.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. Start say the aftercare. There's usually homework involved. The people that live in the home have to follow certain things to take and help prevent that thing from coming back, because you can invite it back in. I advise against it, but after so many years and stuff, there's an attachment there, and without that attachment there's an emptiness. So whether you realize it or not, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So the aftercare and the homework is to make are okay.
Gotcha. So the cleansings that you guys usually do, are they usually malevolent, or are they just sometimes just irritating?
A little of both. Most of the time we get called in, we're known for two things. One of them is diagnosing whether, and before I say this, no one on Spirit Mechanix is a licensed therapist or psychiatric doctor. But we are known for being able to tell the difference between someone who is possessed and someone who has psychiatric needs. And
Gotcha.
The other part of it is we're usually called in for things that are out of the typical wheelhouse. So things like fae and actual elementals, different deep dive kinds of spirits, anchor objects, cursed objects, things bound to the land, spells, curses, hexes. We're usually called in for the weird stuff. Not to say that we haven't had our fair share of demonic cases, but we typically don't take those. Either the church handles those, or someone who has worked with the church handles those, and we usually don't see a lot of them come across our desk. But the other part is usually people will mistake paranormal activity for regular things. And we get a lot of those. We get a lot of those cases. So there's been a couple where it's actually been animals that have gotten into their attic spaces. One of the funniest ones, at the time it was not. Now that it's over, we can laugh about it. But long story short, lady called. She was panic stricken. There's something in my walls that's trying to claw its way out. And it sounded horrible. And we get to her house and everything's fine. Everybody's sleeping okay. Everybody's doing all right. Okay, well, this is a little strange. And she's like, but it's got to be here. It's got to be a demon. Okay, well, we're gonna go check around. And we always do environmentals. We always ask about physical issues, different things like that before we look at paranormal. So we wind up going up to the attic, and there's a softball-sized hole in the side of this lady's roof, and a squirrel's nest just underneath it in the insulation. It's like, no, honey, it's not a demon. You just need a pest control agent. But,
oh my goodness! How many of those false calls do you end up on?
A lot.
Oh.
There's a lot of those, and then there's also people who are in desperate need of proper attention. Not attention seekers per se, but they need help and don't
Gotcha.
know how to get it. So we do take a lot of those as well, where essentially someone's psyche's broken or they're in severe trauma, and they need someone outside of that situation to tell them to go see somebody.
Yeah.
But it's been a long decade.
So how do people even know to, I mean, I understand they call you, etc. So is it usually, does anyone ever have you guys come out before they move into a place?
Actually, yeah, we've had a couple of people request that in the past to come out, check a space, or people like Raymond, myself, Brian will be asked to project in. So some of us do astral projection, and we're asked to project in, check out a property, check out someone's space before they move into it, see what's crawling around, and give an assessment. And if there's something there and they want it gone, they usually ask us to come beforehand, but usually it's something they can get rid of on their own. So
Gotcha. My brain's just going, well, at this date, what are we, July 10th, or whatever this airs. I was just thinking, because we had said earlier, the LaLaurie mansion is for sale. So I'm just thinking.
for all the jump cuts and all the issues, it is my fault. 100% my fault. So I have a tendency when I get either A, overstimulated, or B, I have a lot of emotional issue in the background, and there's some personal things going on in my life that are kind of making it shake a little bit. But the problem with that is that my emotions have a tendency to physically manifest. So I have telekinetic jolts. So electronics don't like me when I'm not grounded well. So I'm the one that keeps popping the connection and causing, our generous host to have to do jump cuts and a bunch of edits. It's my fault. So,
I mean, what better episode to have metaphysical experiences on? I mean, it actually fits perfectly. That's, gosh, and I was telling Raymond for a second when we were out that there's literally 9 million more things that I want to learn about, especially when you mentioned the astral projection and now the telekinesis thing. So I'm going to definitely have to be inviting you guys back with your busy schedule. It could be a couple months from now, whenever you're available. But and I know our listeners are going to enjoy. But I think when we cut off, yeah.
We were talking about the Lori, right?
Yes, I was like, whoever's going to buy the LaLaurie mansion, me, may need you to go in there. Yeah, who knows? Or maybe the realtor is going to need you guys.
I would love that. I'm sure the majority of the team would love that.
So
Actually,
fascinated.
Yes.
That would be
that's a long list of hoops I had to jump through to go back to New Orleans.
That'd just be so fascinating, and I just that it's for sale for first time in how long, and oh gosh, must be so much in there for you guys.
It's about 10 years or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, as soon as I earned my,
then he sold it.
Yeah, yep. I remember that. But I mean, I don't know. I've been there a bunch of times. But as soon as this episode earns me that 10 million, I'm just gonna make an offer right away, and then you guys can come check it out. So one. I know I don't even know how long we've been going because we keep jumping off and having side conversations. So I don't want to go too long, but I have this one question that keeps going in the back of my mind, and I know we're jumping back from investigations back to, well, it's actually for everything. I'm just kind of curious about the process when someone comes to you. So let's say, because you mentioned there's a bunch of different things, the druid, the shamanism, witchcraft, alchemy, etc. It could be anything that someone needs. It depends on the situation. So let's say someone knows they need help. They come to you. Is this how it works? They come to you, they speak to someone, and you guys figure out what it is they're going to need?
Yeah. So typically we'll get a call, or someone will come and see us either at our local event or at our shop, or They'll catch one of us out and about, and they'll say, what they have going on, whether it's an issue with a gift or an attachment, or if it's something in their home, and then we'll have them go through a preliminary process. So we have our own specific questionnaire that we ask every client, and it helps us narrow down exactly what it is that's needed. So usually that process takes myself, the prelim taker, and another team member and founder, Chris Davis. And we'll muddle through, we'll look at everything. Okay, well, this is witchcraft related, this is a possible demonic, this is a possible, eldritch issue or elemental issue. So then I'll create a team that's tailor-made to that specific client. So, okay, we're hitting everything, we're all working as a team, we're doing it in tandem, and that way nothing is missed. We can be as thorough as possible without overtaxing our clients, and get out as soon as we can and let them get back to their life.
Well, that makes perfect sense, a perfect intake process. Well, how do people even, okay, so let's say then, so my guess is, so people feel like they need something, they don't know what it is, maybe they research local and that's how they find you, or is it, how do people even realize that they need someone like you guys? What are the hints?
So a lot of our cases actually come from the Dead Files discussion groups. So a lot of times we've been mentioned on several episodes that Amy did, and we've been outed as her team. We're not the only ones that she's worked with, of course, and everyone she's worked with is spectacular, but unfortunately we got the moniker. So a lot of people come to us through that, well, this is Amy's team, so we can trust them with it. But locally, at least state of Kentucky and the surrounding states, especially Ohio, Virginia, Indiana, a lot of people have heard about us through word of mouth. But we've literally run the gamut from doing big conventions and speaking and doing seminars and panels to just doing one-on-one chats with people that just need a friend. And word gets around, it's a thing. Not to mention Mr. Raymond and his particular team within the team have been putting a lot of work in to get the word out. So we've got a presence on every social media known to man, our own website that is currently in the process of being remade, and a new web series where we're doing some clips from our investigations, and there's a lot of stuff going on where people can find us.
And what Raymond's doing is working. That's how I learned about you guys. So it's working for sure. Well, it's what you just explained literally is runs the gamut of everything. You're like 100% full service, one-on-one chats to just people who need to talk to someone, all the way to, you've got team members that do everything. So gosh, if I ever need an expert on anything, we've had a lot of, different paranormal and metaphysical experts come on, but you with your whole team, has so much more. So fascinating. And you stayed in Kentucky the whole time. That's also wild. Does that do people, gosh, I don't know much about Kentucky, but you guys talked a little bit about it before we started. And you had mentioned earlier just growing up that way. But in this day and age, people are a lot more accepting. We're not perfect, but than they used to be. Do you guys still just get all these like scoffs and people hating what you're doing?
People have a tendency anymore to be very quiet when it comes to that. not necessarily just with us, but with a lot of different people. Um, where we're at, we're basically based in Lexington, but we're literally all the way around the state. So the team is in Lexington, whereas everybody else lives everywhere else. Um, but people get kind of quiet around here, at least in Central Kentucky, because it's fast approaching being one of the best places for you know religious beliefs or non-religious beliefs, metaphysics, and becoming a safe space for uh, the LGBTQ plus community. So it makes things a lot easier here. And interestingly enough, almost 9 out of 10 of our clients are Christians that the church has basically said, nah, we're not helping. We're not dealing with that. That's your problem. You brought this on yourself. And, it, it so we've got a underground kind of following too. People know that we're a safe space and won't talk about their case outside of their case. And, at least as far as naming names and locations, we
Right.
never name names, locations. We say a city and a state, and that's as close as you get.
Oh, I love that. And I know I keep saying I'm wrapping up, but I have to ask because I talk a lot about different experiences I had growing up, being interested in, more not, stereotypical normal things back in, I grew up in the 80s and, went through high school in the 90s. So you had mentioned you were into it years ago as well. Do you have anything that like sticks out in your head of people? I always think I can always come up with things that people like, oh, it was just a phase, or, oh, no, you're not really like that, or just anything like that. Like, do you have any stories? I love it if people can always share those because it shows how far we can come.
Ray, you got one?
It could be so simple. Just there's got to be something that sticks in your head.
Especially growing up in Ohio, in the 80s, early 90s, there was the Satanic Panic. And you would go around to different cemeteries and have pentagrams and this and that painted onto trees, and you would just hear people freak out. I grew up, in church. I have uncles that are pastors, uncles and grandfathers that were, and so, that was all the devil's work. So you don't talk about that stuff. And you find other ways to show it without showing it.
Hiding yourself. Yep.
In broad daylight.
Yeah.
I'm not here.
Yep. Ugh, not anymore. Well, I'm working on it, bringing it to my business, because for a while I wasn't even bringing my alternative Gothic interest into business. Gosh, I don't know why it's taking me so long. It's so freeing. What about you, Steve? Can you think of anything from when you were younger or someone?
So it was a weird situation. So with visual impairment, I've been able to see the traces people leave behind. So I can follow footsteps because they leave traces of their energy behind, or I can see the objects people have touched and follow that, or depending on how bright someone's aura is, I can find them in a crowd. It's that kind of a thing, but my vision was a lot worse when I was a kid than it is now. I was born blind with congenital cataracts, and then 13 surgeries later, we have what we have. And the one thing that always came in crystal clear was, one, light sources. So I thought seeing auras was a normal thing. And two, things that weren't there, but were there. so I could see the attachments on people, or the people walking behind someone else that they never talked to. I was noticing things that other people weren't. And fast forward, and I kept it quiet because, like Ray, growing up in this area, especially where I was most of the time, small town, country towns, you don't talk about this kind of stuff. And, I go to my pastor. I was in the church at that particular point, and I go to my pastor, and I'm like, this is going on with me. Can you explain this to me? And they literally dismissed it and said, even though you can prove what it is that you say that you do, you should never tell anybody. And
Helpful.
I don't have an answer for you. And at that point, I was like, okay, that's weird. And then move on until I become actually associate pastor. Fun trivia there. I'm actually an ex-Methodist minister. But, I'm sitting in the pew and I feel a hand on my shoulder, go prove I exist through actions, not through words. Sure, let's get it. And I haven't been back. But those kinds of situations were usually what I ran into of, even though the Bible states it, even though it can be proven, even though it was accurate, it's not real. And if it was real, it, like Raymond's story, it was witchcraft or of the devil, and you don't want either one of those. So, yeah.
Yep. Well, I can definitely relate. I'm not going to say them all because my listeners have heard them. I've talked about it. Well, not all, but definitely relate. Been through. It's just so interesting. Hopefully, it doesn't happen for my kids. That's the goal, right?
That is
just
the
do
goal.
better this time. Yep. So I need to, we need to wrap it up, guys. If they're willing, listeners, if they're willing, I definitely am going to have them back because I'm sure you want to hear more about some of these things that were mentioned tangentially just as much as I do. So I will definitely be inviting them back. I'm going to include everything in the show notes that I can that we talked about. So Raymond's haunted places, if we can do them, or at least you can get in touch with him if you need to find some cool spooky places to go to. If they'll give them to me, pictures of the jewelry that they were talking about for sure, so that you guys can see this. Maybe that's just more of a fascinating thing for me. But anything we talked about. And also, one last thing, if you guys could touch on, I know you guys do Thursday Night Live. So for those of you, you're only getting a little bit, my listeners are only getting a little bit of time with you here, but do you guys want to share how they can hear and get in touch with you and hear things at any time?
Do it, Raymond.
Yeah, we do our Thursday Night Lives through our Facebook page and through our YouTube, which is Spirit Mechanix. If they have any problems or anything, they can contact us through the website, through any of our social media. Our website is spiritmechanix.com. That's IX because, we're edgy like that.
We're 90s kids.
I'll have the links below too. What do you guys, how does Thursday Night Live work? Is it, question and answer? Is it a topic you guys pick?
Typically we have a monthly topic. July, we're having a break month, so we're having fun. Last week we took the night off because it was a holiday. Tomorrow night, Steve and Brian's going to be playing guitars. I'd be joining, but I had to work. And then the following week, we're going to have horror stories from the road. So, and at the end of each month, we do tarot night. So we'll charge for people for free.
Very cool. Okay, definitely.
They donate stars. It's full on donation. We will do, no matter how many readers we have, Tandem will all take and read for them at the same time.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm definitely showing up. So I'll post links, obviously to all of your website, everything, so that people can do that and learn, contact you guys for everything that we didn't even get to this time. So thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's been months in the works. Is there any last things you want to share that I may have missed?
Thank you for your patience.
I have 3 little kids. They would never say I have patience, but at least maybe, it's making me look like I have some.
If you're local, so in the Kentucky area, Ohio, Virginia, Tennessee, you feel like making a trip, the 20th and 21st is the Central Kentucky Mystical Market. So there's a bunch of us like us, a bunch of weird people doing weird things, selling weird things, and it's a pretty awesome space. It's
awesome.
all weekend. And on the 20th is Mystic Luna, the Enchanted Forest Ball. So it is an actual gala that's being held right after the event. And then if you are interested, a friend of ours and one of the Spirit Mechanix moms, Miss Joni Kahn, is a spectacular reader. She's well known throughout a lot of different states for mediumship and tarot reading. She's going to be doing the thing at the shop on the 27th. If you want a reading, you want to talk to her, just hang out with her, we can set it up to do it over the interwebs, so you don't have to be in state.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. How are there so many things happening in Kentucky? Who knew? I mean, related to these things. So also, okay, well, note to self, gonna have to switch some orders up so I make sure that you guys air in time for everyone to hear all of that. We'll do it. I don't want anyone to miss that. I kind of want to go myself, but 3 little kids. Can't just do this.
Well, also later on in the year, we have Scarefest in October, so
yes,
which is a horror paranormal convention.
It is 3 days of the most wild horror cosplay, paranormal celebrities, horror movie actors and actresses, different types of musicians. It's a complete circus, and it's wonderful.
Sounds amazing.
There were so the last 2 years it's almost tripled in numbers, and we hit almost 100,000 people that came through the door last year. 50,000 people on Friday alone.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Amazing.
It was nuts.
That sounds okay. Definitely going to post all that. And now I need to research more. I mean, we get Oddities and Curiosities Festival, which is cool, but we got Bruce Campbell at the Stanley Hotel.
Oh, yes. Bruce is actually amazing. Got the chance to meet him.
Ash,
cool.
One of the tables at my wedding was named Army of Darkness. And I built my own. Oh my God. I'm going to post a picture of this. I built my own handcrafted Necronomicon for the decoration on the table at my wedding. Yeah. So, but God, I've got to find more about these Scarefest things. There's got to be stuff out here in Colorado, more. Well, to be continued. Anyway, thank you for sharing all of that stuff. My mind, I have so many things I want to research and think about, and definitely going to invite you guys again. And I will see you at a Thursday night live. For everyone listening, definitely check them out at the links. Check out their YouTube. Follow, subscribe, our stuff, their stuff. That's the way we keep this going. And any like buttons or share. There's got to be people who haven't heard this or don't know about this that that would be interested. So the more you share, the better it is. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you next time.